From Bainbridge Island to the Villages,
Pickleball is one of the fastest growing sports in America.
Buckeye to Abbotsford,
Time out, baby, yeah! Woo!
St. George to Rochester, and all points in between.
If you've heard of pickleball or you already play it, then you know.
This is the Pickleball Show.
This is Deb Harrison of PicklePongDeb.com, and here's the host of the Pickleball Show, Chris Allen.
From the PBX Club Studios in Asheville, North Carolina, it's the Pickleball Show. I am your host, Chris. I wish I didn't have to split step every time. I'd much rather just hit and run. Allen. I'm trying out new middle names here, and that's, I don't know if that will make the cut, but I'm joined today by Mark Renison of ThirdShotSports.com up in Collingwood, Ontario, Canada, just a couple of hours north of Toronto. Mark, how are you today?
Hello, Chris. I'm doing just great. Thank you.
Boy, yeah, I think I don't need to split step this time. I can just hit this and catch it on the run and be up at the line in no time. I'll do it right on the next point, but this point, I'm just going to shortcut it.
Yeah, why waste that energy split stepping?
I know. I don't want to have to stop and then get started up all over again. No, I'll just do two things at one time. I'll multitask. I'll get up to the line and hit at the same time. What could possibly go wrong with that strategy?
How's that work?
Not too well. Not too well at all. We're also joined today by a special guest. You've seen him at Tournament of Champions. You've seen him on the medal stand there. Or you've seen him on the Nationals on the medal stand there. He's all over the place and one of the world's top players. It is Matt Staub. Matt, thank you for joining us today on the Pickleball Show.
Thanks for having me, Chris. This is awesome. Really appreciate you letting me come on here.
Well, it's a lot of fun, and it sure is fun having a top player of your caliber on to answer our questions and hopefully make us better players. One of the things, even though we haven't spoken before, you have helped me tremendously over the past couple of years. The videos that you and your dad have made have really been crucial in my progress. The third shot video that you guys made along with Rusty over at Pickleball Channel, it made more of a difference than anything. When I was just starting out, when I saw that was the big light bulb going off, and the whole thing about the ball arcing on your side of the court, the apex of the ball on your side, and then it descends into the kitchen. Boom, I couldn't wait to get out the next day and try that, and that made just a world of difference. So thanks to you and thanks to your dad for all the stuff that you guys have put out there information-wise, because it really does help people.
Oh, I appreciate that a lot, and I think most people, when they say stuff, is definitely that third ball video, and Rusty and the crew can make anybody sound like they know what they're talking about, so hats off to them.
Now, one thing, I've been watching videos of you lately, not only your gold medal performance at Tournament of Champions, but other ones as well. It seems like that your strategy may be evolving. It seems like a lot of times I'll watch you serve, and then you'll take the return, and then your third shot will be more of a drive. That'll come back to you, and then on the fifth shot, that'll be your soft shot. Is that a fair analysis, or is it just a random thing and I'm reading too much into it?
No, you're absolutely right. And don't let me forget to talk about the split step. I liked where you were going with that, and so we'll go touch on that later. But As far as using the drive, the new technology with these new paddles, you can just get so much topspin and so much power that if you're not adding it to your game, you're falling behind. So, as far as technology goes, I'm currently switched to Robert Elliott's Engage Encore, and with that, you can just get so much topspin and so much power that even if I'm not necessarily trying to hit a winner, trying to get a free point, it's just even if they take a good crack at it, you're hitting the ball so hard that you can't volley it firmly. And so you can take that next ball and hit your third ball, which I guess you were saying would be your fifth ball, really. Mm-hmm. You can take that and use that as a third ball, and you might get some cheap points off the first one hitting a drive. And, you've seen a lot of people do it for a long time. Kyle Yates, Daniel Moore does it. Some of these guys use it. And with these new paddles, you really probably need to start adding it to your game.
So you're thinking, well, let's zing it at him first and see, and it might go in the net. If it comes back, it might not come back very well. It'll be high, or it'll be weak, or it'll be something that I can really do something with. I can pounce on it. So might as well take a chance. And you feel like obviously you're a good enough volleyer to where there's not a huge downside. If it does come back, you'll pretty much be able to take it no matter how much velocity it's got on it.
Right. I mean, as far as the split step, as long as I take a crack at it and split step before they volley it, I still feel like I'm not really losing that much by taking that chance on the front side. And you might get some cheap points out of it, which, as I think everybody's finding out, cheap points are hard to come by now with the players getting better and better.
Yeah.
And I think you need to mix in some free points like that. Also, it puts an emphasis on your and their return of serve, because really the main time to do it is on a short return. So if somebody hits a short return, and I tell you who does it better than anybody, just came to mind, is Scott Moore. Watch some videos of him. He takes a short ball, and he is going to rip it at you. So it really puts pressure on your service return to hit it deep, and you might get some cheap points there. So not only are you getting free points by driving the ball at them, but now you're getting some cheap points. Maybe they hit a return out, maybe they hit a return in the net just because they're worried, hey, if I hit this ball short, I'm going to get it blasted at me.
And then it becomes a scenario of if you are getting 3 or 4 free points, you only have to play to 7, and the other team has to play to 11.
Exactly. And not to say that you don't have to do the other things. Obviously, you still have to do everything else well, but, it's just part of the game where you need to mix in some of those with these new paddles, some of those free points. It's kind of like I liken it to the tennis with these big servers hitting these big aces. At this point in the game in tennis, you've got to mix in some free points. It's kind of getting that way with pickleball too.
Well, that's what I was wondering, because for the longest time, the serve and the return have been described as the formality phase of the point, where the point doesn't really start until the third shot, and I think that is becoming less and less true. Are you seeing that? Are you seeing people that are looking to be more aggressive and trying to gain an immediate advantage right off the serve, right off the return?
Oh, 100%. I mean, like I said, I can't stress enough, these new paddles are just getting so powerful, and it's good and bad. I mean, I like the old style of play, not the formality serve and return, but the new style. I mean, people are just crushing serves and crushing returns. And so it's becoming really important, because you hit that return short, they're going to get a free point. And as far as if you're just patty caking your serve in there, now they're taking that return, crushing it at your feet, hitting a heavy slice, and makes your third ball nearly impossible. So the serve and return are becoming really critical. I think it's strictly just because of these paddles. You can do so much more with them that it is a disadvantage if you're not taking a crack at the serve, or the return for that matter.
The receiving team maybe has a little bit less of an advantage now than they used to, because they're still going to be able to get up to the line, but you've got, between your serve and then your third shot, if you zing that at him, you've got 2 shots to put some power behind and maybe get them to make a mistake early.
100%. I mean, watch Scott Moore, watch Matthew Blom. Those 2 guys, big serves, and then they're coming in looking to hit you. So I think with these paddles, you're going to have to take a swing at a serve now, and you better hit a good return too. So it's really putting emphasis on that, where I agree with you beforehand, and previous years, it really didn't matter.
Now, one thing that has always been intriguing to me, the fact that you have kind of the lineage there. Your dad, national champion, and now you're following in his footsteps. You're in the nationals, you're in the finals last year, and winning Tournament of Champions. And that's always been intriguing to me. How I guess you look at football, you look at the Manning family, and there's something going on there. Besides,
I love that I've been mentioned in the same sentence as Peyton Manning. The Manning family. Well,
you know what I mean, though. I mean, to have to be a great quarterback is one thing, but then to have 2 of your sons, also have he didn't get Archie Manning didn't have a Super Bowl ring, but to have them just play in the NFL, there's got to be something going on there more than just good genes. He's got to be teaching them something, and I'm always intrigued by that, because that means, all right, there is something that can be taught that can lead to becoming a great player. What kind of things did you learn from your dad that you think made you the player that you are today?
Probably pretty much I would liken it all to tennis background, and he taught me everything there is to know about tennis growing up. So, that's where that form came from, and I think I've had a lot of people tell me that, we look exactly the same with our strokes on the court. So the tennis background definitely helped, so everything was from him. And pickleball, we kind of came along together when he first moved to Florida, was really when we kind of started taking it seriously. So we kind of learned together, and kind of our games, I think, pretty much grew at the exact same pace.
You guys had each other to bounce things off of as you were both learning and progressing.
Exactly. And we went through the same phases. Too hard, too soft, this, that, and the other. And I think now our games are a little different. When we go teach clinics and stuff, I think we have different views on different approaches, different shots, but our form's the same, and I think our general concepts are the same. And while I'm on that point, I think and having all these people on the show and all these teachers is all great. And the one thing I would tell everyone is that there is no right way to play. This game is so young and is still growing. There's no one way to play. I can take any shot on the court and say, all right, well, I would have done it this way, but Mark would have done it this way, or Daniel Moore would have done it this way, or Aspen, Chris Miller, anybody, and they're not wrong. I mean, that way might work for them, might work for you. I think the best thing to do is to take, and this is what I did when I was first learning, when I hadn't been to nationals, or even the first couple times at nationals, is look at each player and say, hey, what did they do to me, or what do I like about their game? Even watch it on YouTube. What do I like about their game? And go out and do it. Go out and try it, add it to your game. Get a piece, get something from every player that you like, and put it in your game, because there's no wrong way to play.
Yeah, I think it's important to keep experimenting, keep trying some new things, and it doesn't mean to totally abandon your game. But if you have kind of 1 foot rooted in the fundamentals, it's okay to try this little area, and if it doesn't work for you, you can go back into your solid game, and then go and try this little area, and sometimes you do find things that work for you, and then those are the keepers.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, one thing about you is, in watching videos, it's almost as if your backhand is more dangerous than your forehand. Have you ever heard that?
Oh, I've not only ever heard that, but I would agree with you, and I tell everyone that, and that's why Chris Miller, with Aspen, with Dan, they all love their forehands, and I like my backhand more than my forehand, so I let them go play what would be the forehand side of the court, the power side, and I'll just camp out on my little square and hit backhands. Really, my backhand's in the middle, so I can pretty much cover everything I want to cover with a backhand when I'm on that right side of the court. And when you have really good partners, you just kind of stand there and let them take over. So it makes it nice.
How is it that your backhand got to be so strong? Because I know that most people, they're constantly trying to favor their forehand. They're thinking, oh, please don't let it hit to my backhand. Some of them, they'll run around. I mean, they'll just run around half the court to avoid hitting a backhand. And you have such a strong backhand, you actually prefer it. How did you develop it to that point, and what can the rest of us do to help strengthen our backhands?
I mean, it definitely 100% came from my dad. He favors his backhand as well, so when I was learning everything from him, I guess just was taught the right way. And I think the main thing that I see when people struggle with backhands, when we do these clinics, when we go teach people, is that their grip just from the get-go. They love their forehand because they have this exaggerated forehand grip that makes it nearly impossible to hit a backhand. And to hit it well, you're going to have to use the continental. You're going to have to even be a little Eastern. I mean, I know if you look at Daniel Moore again, sorry, I keep going back to him, he holds it an almost Eastern grip, whereas it makes your backhand that much easier. And for a lot of these people, you're going to have to change your grip to get that better backhand, which is going to make your forehand harder, and you're going to have to adjust some things on your forehand side, but it's the only way you're going to be able to hit a backhand effectively.
Hey, Chris, can I jump in here?
Please, Mark, go right ahead.
So I've got to say, it is such a breath of fresh air to hear Matt talk about this, and I think any of the listeners out there, who are asking themselves, how do I make my pickleball game better? Like, what can I do? You can hear it when he talks about it. You can see it when you watch him play, whether it's live or on YouTube, is that being able to hit effective shots off both your forehand and backhand side make your life so much easier. It means that you don't have to consistently put yourself out of position so you can avoid your weakness. It means that you don't have to run around as much, so you're not going to be as tired. I would say, and Matt, disagree if you think, but for those novice and intermediate players out there who are, they understand the game and they want to start to play better, I would really recommend stop avoiding your weaknesses, right? Especially in practice. So I wonder, if Matt's out training one day, what percentage of the time, when he's hitting ground strokes, what percentage is forehand, what percentage is backhand?
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. When I'm playing, and I know Mark, and I know, all the top people do it, if you're not in a tournament, you're working on the worst part of your game. So, the video I think that, Chris, you saw where I'm just, hitting every third ball, coming over it, hitting as hard as I can. I know that's my weakness. I've never done that before, so that's why I'm constantly doing it, just so I can get used to it, get more comfortable with it. I know come game time, I'm going to revert back to what's comfortable for me and what works for me, but you got to do what you're the worst at, I guess, in practice in order. It's the only way you're going to get better at it. So
that's for sure. We're talking with Matt Staub, one of the world's top players. What's your question for Matt today? You can type it in the little text box there, or you can raise your hand and I can call on you and unmute your microphone. This is our brand new webinar format of the Pickleball Show, and we're going to do a quick trivia question here. It's true, false trivia. Let's go ahead and launch it right now. This is straight from the rule book, and it is true or false. A referee may ask a player to change his or her shirt if the color is deemed too similar to the ball color. True or false, a referee may ask a player to change his or her shirt if the color is deemed too similar to the ball color. Go ahead and vote on that. Now, Matt, there's been a video. I know that Rob Elliott did one on the Dink, and then Deb Harrison is also changing her Dink style. She used to talk about the elephant arms and the paddle pointed directly down on the court, and now she's changing, I think, more to the style that Rob has been advocating, and that is the broken wrist style, where the paddle is a little bit above your wrist. You're having to reach down lower, but he says that you get better control on the ball, and that and then Deb said she likes the angle that the ball goes in over the net. It's not so loopy, and it tends to hug the net a little bit more. What's your Dink style like? Is it more, looking at videos, you seem to alternate from one to the other, and I couldn't really pin down a particular style. Would you say that you have one?
I think you got to use both. When you're going down the line, I think is when you use the more drop the paddle. You can drop the paddle head that way. Mm-hmm. Pretty much everything else is straight from tennis, and that's, I guess, I haven't seen Rob's video, but having that wrist locked at a 90-degree angle, whether it's on your forehand, on your backhand, and that's how you get super consistent with it. And yeah, you got to move your feet, and basically it comes down to that and footwork. I think a lot of people, when they're struggling with dinking, they don't realize how much footwork is involved with it. I mean, you got to get yourself in the perfect position every time in order to be consistent. So moving your feet, getting outside the ball, getting in the proper position, or short hopping is critical. But back to your point, the wrist, I do keep mine at a 90-degree angle most of the time, above my arm, I guess is how you would say it. Mm-hmm. And that's just straight from a tennis volley. I'm sure Mark would teach you the same way.
Yeah, so we often call that, in tennis, we call that having a laid-back wrist, right? And the laid-back wrist, which you see, yes, in volleys for sure, in drop shots, you even see the laid-back wrist in topspin forehands, right? And what that allows is it allows you to make contact out in front between your body and the net, which is a strong position to hit from, mm-hmm. while at the same time being able to control the angle of the paddle. So when you get that continuous line, all the way from your shoulder, down your arm, to the wrist, to the paddle, that continuous line, if you make contact out front, all of a sudden the paddle is going to be angled cross-court. And so what happens is players have to end up letting the ball get almost behind them in order to hit straight, which is a very weak hitting position. So Matt's absolutely right, and I would say with most of the best players, you do see this laid-back wrist technique because it allows you to hit from a strong position and still control the direction of the ball. And
that's the technique where the skin on your wrist is actually, there's a fold in your skin because you've got your wrist kind of cocked up a little bit?
That's right, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so the hand is sort of flexing back towards the forearm.
Right, okay, gotcha. Just wanted to make sure we were...
Just to before I forget, the wrist like that, a lot of people, when they run into problems with inconsistency, dinking, is what we call they leak. Their wrist drops a little bit, or their paddle get a little lazy getting below the arm, and that's when you run into problems.
That's I'm probably guilty of that because, frankly, I don't want to have to reach down so low. I'm 6'4", so it's a little bit longer to get down to the ground.
Woe is me. Woe is me. I'm 6'4".
I know.
Matt is also right that that for a lot of recreational players, the role of movement is underestimated on dinks, and so it's an easy trap to fall into, which is, I'm hitting a dink, I'm hitting the ball slowly, therefore I move slowly. Mm-hmm. And what you see is, let's take two examples. Let's take Matt hitting dinks. If you give him 10 balls to dink and you took a picture every time he made contact, I guarantee you that he's going to look like he's going to have the identical setup every time. It doesn't matter where you put the ball because he's going to move to get that ideal setup.
Right.
And then as you go down in level, what you'll see is players, if you take those 10 pictures, when they make contact, all of a sudden they look quite different, right? One, they're reaching, away from their body. The other, they're jammed, they're too close. One, they're falling off the back foot. One, they're reaching forward.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that separates levels of player is their ability to receive the ball in a similar way each time, which then gives them a much better chance to send the ball in a consistent way.
Good point.
And I like that point. I like the way you put that. I think the game didn't used to be like this, but it's becoming more this way. It is more physical, and I think at the top level, people want to say that pickleball is very much a mind game, and I would disagree with that wholeheartedly. I really hate when people say that because, sure, you need to think about what shot you're going to play when, but at this point, it is as much physical as it is mental. To be that consistent and aggressive and defensive, all these things, there is a level of physicality in it now where you're going to have to move your feet, you're going to have in top shape to do these things and put yourself in the right position to hit, whatever you think might be the right shot, but it's almost more important physically now.
I have a friend who we introduced pickleball to him. He was new. He's also a tennis coach. His first time playing, he had the usual thing where, the ball doesn't bounce much and the paddle's kind of short. And within 10 minutes of playing against decent players, he looked and he said, "Oh, Mark, I get it. You move, you win." And it was like this light bulb went off for him. And it's like, if you just move well, if you move better than those other guys, if you get to the ball so you're well set up, not relying on reaching for the ball, if you move, you win. And I think we often, as intermediate players, we think too much about the hitting aspect of pickleball. I mean, you can have the nicest swing anyone's ever seen, but if you're not in the right place, it doesn't matter.
Oh, unless you're Chris, you're in 6'4", and you just throw up a tent and camp out there.
That's all you do. That's all you got to do.
Yeah. Chris,
just reach in there. So hard to be 6'4".
I know. I'm going to close out the poll here by reaching my 6'4" arm over and pressing the button here. God. Let's close out this true or false poll and see what the results are. The question is true or false. A referee may ask a player to change his or her shirt color if the color is deemed too similar to the ball color. And 70% said that's true, 30% said that is false. The answer is false.
This is the first time that you got a group on that.
Yeah, you can wear any color. Any color is acceptable. The referee cannot ask you to change your shirt color if it is too close to the ball color. Whatever color shirt you want to wear is fine, and that is Rule 2F1.
I'd actually be interested to hear what Matt thinks about this. So I noticed a number of players at Nationals who it was pretty clear, like the neon yellow shirts and shorts and socks.
Yeah, what if you had a shirt that just had a bunch of pickleballs on it?
Like, I have my own perspective on it, but I wonder what Matt thinks about that. Like, is that sort of within not just the letter of the law, but is it within sort of the spirit of the law?
Is it poor sportsmanship to try to use those kind of tactics to confuse your opponents?
I mean, I see people doing it. I honestly, when I'm playing, I have never noticed it or thought that it was an advantage when I'm playing against somebody that does that. And as far as people, I have never heard somebody say, "Oh, well, it's bad sportsmanship." I guess it could be kind of like baseball. If somebody does something you don't like, maybe you plunk them on purpose. So maybe you catch one in the chest if you're doing it. But I don't think it's bad sportsmanship. Which actually is kind of interesting. I wanted to touch on what Gigi said earlier as far as there's no right way to play. She said that she will never try to hit someone on purpose, and I found that kind of interesting because I am definitely trying to hit people on purpose. I mean, the court is too small and people are too fast to always try to be moving around. I mean, I'm just thinking of a Wes Gabrielson, a Kyle Yates. Of course I'm going to try to hit them because if you give them anything on either wing, they're going to slap it harder at you than you hit it at them. So sometimes, I mean, yeah, of course you're trying to hit them.
Yeah, though typically you're not trying to hit them in the head, not because you don't want to hit them in the head, but because if you miss, then you lose the point, right? The ball flies long.
Oh, yeah, I mean, definitely not trying to hit them in the face or anything, but chest is completely in the realm.
Yeah, that's part of the game. We're talking with Matt Staub, also Mark Renison from ThirdShotSports.com, and Matt has agreed to join us for another episode of the Pickleball Show, and we'll have your questions. And Matt, we did want to talk more about split stepping. You had asked me to remind you that, so we'll get to that in the next episode. Sounds good?
Awesome, thanks.
Mark, thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And I'd like to thank you for joining us today as well. Hey, have you gotten your copy of the top 10 tips from Pickleball's 3 greatest coaches? Coach Mo, Deb Harrison, Prem Carnot, all together in one quick study guide that will definitely take your game to the next level. It's totally free. You don't need a credit card. All you need is an email address. Head over to freepbxclub.com and we'll send it to you right away. That's freepbxclub.com. You can email us anytime also. mail@pickleballshow.com. We'd love to hear from you. Question, comment, whatever you got. Also, head over to iTunes. Hit that subscribe button. You'll never miss an episode. And if you feel it's appropriate, please leave us a 5-star review. That helps boost us up in the rankings and makes it a lot easier for people to find the show. I'm Chris Allen. This is the Pickleball Show. And until next week, keep 'em low. The Pickleball Show is brought to you by PBX Club. PBX stands for Pickleball Excellence. Join today and get the latest pickleball tips and strategies, news and opinion. Save money on paddles and other equipment with coupon codes to online pickleball retailers. Get travel discounts to tournaments and a whole lot more. How much does it cost to become a PBX Club member? Well, it's free. Just go to freepbxclub.com. That's freepbxclub.com. There's even a link in the show notes for this episode. freepbxclub.com. PBX Pickleball Excellence. Join the club. It's free.